Here's a little sidebar from our usual projects. I visited our Bay Area marine consignment place, and I was taking some stuff over to drop off, and came across a 2-speed tailing winch. They never have tailing winches there. Everybody sells their old non-tailers. So when you find one, they're usually pretty expensive still. It's a Barient 2-speed, 22-35 series self-tailing. And it had a piece of blue tape on it that said parts only, and they wanted $125 for it. So I asked him, I go, what's the parts only mean? And he says, well, it means something's broken inside. And I go, okay. Well, I noticed what happens is the tailing arm spins around. So he actually loaned me a socket. I took the top off, looked inside, lifted the cap. Everything looks normal. I mean, it needs to be cleaned and greased and lubricated and everything. But it's a real simple design. It looks almost identical to our Lumar Englands out on the our primaries out on the combing. So I started looking at it, and I'm like, and plus the one thing I liked is that the jaws are adjustable. They're spring-loaded jaws, so they accommodate a various size of ropes. And I was thinking this might be nice on the cabin top for our main sheet. So I took everything apart, brought it home. Can't find anything on the internet about this specific winch. They have nothing about this winch with the sliding plastic rope stripper. So this is the rope stripper that once it gets in there, it peels the rope off as it falls past the tailing arm. So I started looking and noticed there was a little piece of plastic inside here under the net. Totally didn't mean anything, but it kind of just triggered something that for some reason there's got to be something that locks this into here to keep the tailing arm from rotating. So I started messing around with some of this Instamorph to prototype just a sample piece to see if it would actually function. And I've used the Instamorph before making the battery caps. I took a little ball, heated it up, and made a piece that goes in here and locks the tailing arm into position. So now the winch moves. It actually moves in both directions. 2-speed, this is low speed, and then this is high speed, full rotation. So I made this, and I was thinking, well, I can machine one out of some heavy duty plastic, but then went ahead and melted some more of it and made another one that's a full diameter ring, which I'm assuming is what was in here from the factory. In as much as I can't find any information about this winch online, I figured it must have had something like this inside. And this goes all the way around. It locks all these little pointy parts in with the 2 square keyways here. And once you bolt this thing down on your deck, wherever you put it, you can basically adjust the arm wherever you need in very small increments to get the line to tail off correctly. So all I did was take some Instamorph, molded this into a disc that fits on here. I gotta sand it off a little bit because it still sits a little bit high. This cap goes on, the centerpiece goes in here, and it's still tight on the inside, but for a 10-minute prototype of doing this. So I asked him what's wrong with it. We took it apart. I figured I can fix it. I asked the guy, what do you want for it? And he says, give me $50. And I said, sold. I walked out the door with it. I'm like, even if I can't fix it, I can bring it back and try and consign it to somebody else who will do something. So anyway, yeah, the parts weren't available, so that's when I came up with this thing on the inside. Oh, that piece I made out of plastic to keep the tailing arm in place, it worked out okay, came out all right, but I had to do some trimming and machining on it, and the stuff doesn't do too well. When you power sand it, it wants to heat up and start melting again. So came up with plan B, and what I'm going to do is make a wax mold, and this is just regular old household paraffin wax. You can buy it in chunks at the grocery store for like canning and stuff. And I'm going to melt this down and make a mold of this thing, and then pour in some thickened epoxy. So hopefully this will work. We'll give it a try. And I'll let it cool off a little bit on the bottom, just to give it some, give it a flat spot on the bottom. So the wax is sitting at about 136 degrees, it's starting to grow a skin on it. Better drop this thing in before I lose it. right there. Okay, so I'm going to mix a little bit of microfibers in here, a little bit at a time. I hope this is enough. Kind of like about ketchup consistency, I think will flow nicely. So the epoxy's had a couple hours to cure up, and I'm going to try and get this little puddle of resin out of the mold. I think they call this lost wax casting. So I'm going to try and get this thing out of here. Taking a heat gun, just heating the bottom of the bowl a little bit. There we go. So the wax is soft. This is going to be a mess. So far, not too bad. The resin seems to be pretty close to cured. Wax is pulling out. Here's the piece, and it looks a little raggedy. I'm going to go ahead and let this thing cure up a whole lot more, and then I'll worry about start grinding on it. So there's my first try at wax casting. I'm not too impressed. So I'm going to feed a coping saw blade up through here, tighten it down, and I can cut away a bunch of the inside stuff, the slop that needs to go away. Alright, there we go. Okay, that fits. Alright, well I think I got the inside diameter of this area right here good. Just need to clean up these pieces. This fits good. Hopefully the cap fits on top. I'll have to sand some of that away. But yeah, this thing, it turns. Now I just got to machine it to fit the teeth on the inside of the tailing arm. Just a little bit of material needs to come out there. You can see where I'm taking away a little bit right here. Got to get rid of some of that. Alright, so this thing fits in here. That's what lines up the tailing jaw. Now the lid fits on nice and tight. This is the rope stripper right here. Sorry for the bad lighting, just really dark in my shop. But you can see this piece, these two keyways fit in the groove on the top of the drum. This notch here on the tailing arm fits here. Once you bolt this thing down, you can rotate the tailing arm any which way you like, and this thing that I made locks the tailing arm in place. Now the winch will turn, but the tailing arm stays fixed. Then the cap goes on, the center hub goes down inside, tighten up the bolt. $50 tailing winch. Not bad for a little bit of time making a part that's not available on the internet with no pictures of how it used to look. I just had to kind of make this up by myself, so. But it seems to work. Doesn't look like anything interferes. So it should be good. DIY repair to a tailing winch.